It was another morning of consultations in the office when I received Mr. Thomas, a 62-year-old gentleman, a successful businessman, with a visibly tired countenance. His eyes revealed sleepless nights, and his posture demonstrated the weight of accumulated fatigue. As a urologist for 15 years, I had become accustomed to seeing this patient profile, but each case was unique and deserved special attention. "Doctor, I can't take waking up 4-5 times a night to go to the bathroom anymore. It's ruining my quality of life," he confided, adjusting himself in the chair. His wife, Mrs. Sarah, who accompanied him to the consultation, added, "He gets irritable during the day, has difficulty concentrating at work. He's not the same anymore." While listening attentively to their accounts, I began to ask the necessary questions to compose the clinical picture. Mr. Thomas revealed that the symptoms had started about 6 months ago, initially with 2 episodes per night, gradually progressing to the current situation. "Have you noticed any other symptoms? Urgency to urinate? Difficulty starting the urinary stream?" I asked, while making notes in his medical record. "Yes, doctor. Sometimes I feel like I need to rush to the bathroom, and the stream doesn't come out as strong as before," he replied, showing some embarrassment when talking about the subject. It was crucial to make him feel comfortable sharing all the relevant details for the diagnosis. I explained to the couple that the described condition is known as nocturia, a disorder characterized by the need to wake up during the night to urinate. Many people think it's normal to wake up several times to go to the bathroom, especially as they get older, but it's not. This can and should be investigated and treated, I clarified. During our conversation, I could see that Mr. Thomas had some habits that could be contributing to the problem. He reported drinking coffee late at night to be able to work at home, as well as consuming some beers on weekends. "Do you usually drink a lot of water close to bedtime?" I questioned. "Yes, I always have a water bottle on my nightstand," he responded. I then proposed that we start a detailed investigation. "I'm going to order some tests, and I'd like you to fill out a voiding diary for a week. It's a very important tool for us to better understand your urinary pattern," I explained, handing him a specific form for this record. The voiding diary is a simple document, but extremely valuable for us urologists. In it, the patient notes all the times they urinate, the approximate volume, the amount of fluids ingested, and whether or not there was urinary urgency. This information helps us identify patterns and possible causes of the problem. During this week, I ask that you maintain your normal habits, but note everything in detail. This will help us better understand what's happening, I instructed. I also explained that, in addition to the diary, some laboratory and imaging tests would be necessary for a complete evaluation. As the consultation was coming to an end, I could notice that Mr. Thomas was already showing some relief just from having shared his problem and knowing that there were treatment possibilities. It was common to see this change in patients when they realized they weren't alone and that their complaints were taken seriously. "Mr. Thomas, what you're experiencing is more common than you might think. Many of my patients face similar situations, and in the vast majority of cases, we can find effective solutions," I assured him, while finalizing the test requests. Before they left, Mrs. Sarah asked, "Doctor, is there anything we can do now, even before the test results?" It was an excellent question, demonstrating the couple's interest in actively participating in the treatment process. "Yes, there are some simple changes that can help. Let's start by reducing fluid intake in the last few hours before bed, especially coffee and alcoholic beverages. I also suggest slightly elevating the head of the bed, which can help reduce nighttime urine production," I advised, explaining that these initial measures could bring some relief while we waited for the test results. A week later, Mr. Thomas returned to the office with his meticulously filled voiding diary and the results of the requested tests. It was impressive how those notes could reveal so much about a person's habits and routine. Analyzing the diary, I noticed that he was urinating an average of 2.8 liters per day, with about 40% of that volume concentrated in the nighttime period. "You've done an excellent job with the notes," I praised, while studying the records. This helps us a lot in understanding what's going on. The blood test showed that his blood sugar was slightly elevated, not yet at diabetic levels, but already indicating insulin resistance. The PSA, prostate-specific antigen, was within normal limits, but the ultrasound revealed a moderate increase in prostate size. As a doctor, I always consider it essential to explain to patients, in accessible language, what the tests show us. Mr. Thomas, your tests reveal some important information. First, your prostate is slightly enlarged, which is common for men your age. This may be contributing to your urinary symptoms, I explained, using an anatomical model to better illustrate. Additionally, we noticed that your blood sugar is a bit high. This can cause your kidneys to produce more urine, especially at night, I continued. Mr. Thomas seemed surprised by this information. But doctor, I didn't even know that blood sugar could affect urine that way, he commented. It was the perfect moment to deepen the explanation about the various causes of nocturia. You see, there are several factors that can lead a person to urinate more at night. Some are related to increased urine production, as in your case, with altered blood sugar. Others have to do with the reduced capacity of the bladder to store urine, which can be caused by prostate enlargement, I explained. I continued detailing how different conditions can manifest through nocturia. Some people have this problem because of high blood pressure, especially when they take medications to control it close to bedtime. Others may have altered production of antidiuretic hormone, which is responsible for reducing urine production during the night. Mr. Thomas listened attentively, making notes in his notebook. His wife asked, "And eating habits, doctor? Can they influence?" "Certainly," I replied. "Excessive salt consumption, for example, can increase urine production. Drinks with caffeine, alcohol, and even some types of teas can have a diuretic effect." I took the opportunity to show how his voiding diary revealed some interesting patterns. Notice that on the days when you had coffee after 6 p.m., the number of trips to the bathroom during the night was higher. The same happened on the weekend, when you consumed beer, I pointed out in the notes. It was important for him to understand that nocturia, in his case, had multiple contributing factors. It's not just a prostate problem or just blood sugar. It's a combination of factors that we need to address in an integrated way, I explained. At this point, I realized it was time to discuss the treatment plan. We'll need to work on several fronts, I began to explain. First, I suggest referring you to an endocrinologist to better evaluate this blood sugar issue. The sooner we control this, the better. Regarding the prostate, I'm going to prescribe a medication that helps relax the muscles in the area and facilitate urine flow. It's a safe medication and well tolerated by most patients, I continued, explaining in detail how the medication worked and what the possible side effects were. But it's not just medication, I emphasized. We need to implement some changes in your lifestyle. I took a sheet and began to list the recommendations. Restrict fluids in the last 2 to 3 hours before bed, avoid caffeine after 2 p.m., reduce salt and alcohol consumption, and maintain a regular sleep schedule. Do you practice any physical activity? I asked. Not much, doctor. Work takes up a lot of my time, he replied. Regular physical activity can help a lot. Besides contributing to blood sugar control, it helps improve sleep quality, I explained, suggesting that he start with light walks and gradually increase the intensity of the exercises. In the weeks following our consultation, I maintained close contact with Mr. Thomas through brief messages and phone calls. As a urologist, I always considered this initial follow-up essential, especially when we are implementing several changes simultaneously. It was gratifying to perceive his commitment to the proposed treatment. Doctor, I confess that at first it was difficult to change some habits of so many years, he commented during one of our conversations. Especially giving up the evening coffee and the weekend beer. This difficulty was understandable. After all, we weren't just treating symptoms, but promoting a real transformation in lifestyle. In partnership with the endocrinologist, Dr. Johnson, we developed an integrated treatment plan. The multidisciplinary approach is essential in cases like Mr. Thomas's. where different aspects of health intertwine. Blood sugar control became a priority, with adjustments in diet and introduction of regular physical activity. Mrs. Sarah became a fundamental ally in this process. "I've reformulated the entire menu here at home, doctor," she proudly recounted. "I discovered several healthy and tasty recipes. Even Thomas, who was resistant to vegetables, is adapting well. This family support is invaluable in the process of changing habits. One of the strategies I suggested was creating a relaxing nighttime routine. Mr. Thomas, you need to give your body a signal that it's time to slow down," I explained. "Try to establish a ritual before bed, a warm bath, light reading, breathing exercises." The idea was to help the body enter a state more conducive to restorative sleep. The exercise program started gradually, with 15-minute walks, 3 times a week. "At first, I thought I wouldn't be able to fit it into my routine," Mr. Thomas confessed. "But I started waking up earlier and doing the walk before work. It's been easier than I imagined." The prostate medication was also taking effect. "I noticed that the urinary stream is stronger, and I don't feel that urgency from before," he reported in one of our follow-up conversations. I explained that this was a good sign, but that we needed to maintain consistent treatment for lasting results. During this period, I encouraged Mr. Thomas to continue with the voiding diary, now with a new purpose: to document improvements and identify which changes were having the greatest impact. "It's like a logbook of your journey," I explained. "It helps us understand what's working better and what still needs to be adjusted." One of the interesting discoveries was the influence of stress on urinary symptoms. On particularly tense days at work, Mr. Thomas noticed an increase in urinary frequency. This led us to incorporate stress management techniques into the treatment plan, including breathing exercises and guided meditation. "I never imagined I'd learn to meditate at 62, he joked. "But I confess it's helping me relax a lot." This openness to new experiences and complementary treatment methods was inspiring. Many patients resist changes that go beyond traditional medication. The practice of exercises was gradually increasing, always respecting the limits and adaptation of the organism. After a month, Mr. Thomas was already able to walk for 30 minutes straight, and he started attending a gym under professional supervision. "I feel more willing, with more energy during the day," he reported. Family support extended beyond Mrs. Sarah. The couple's children, even living in other cities, got involved in the process, encouraging their father through video calls and daily messages. "They keep asking for photos of the walk every day," Mrs. Sarah said, laughing. This emotional support was fundamental to maintaining motivation. In our conversations, I always made a point of reinforcing that the treatment of nocturia goes far beyond simply reducing trips to the bathroom during the night. "We are taking care of your health as a whole," I explained. "Each small positive change has an impact on the overall picture." After 2 months of treatment, Mr. Thomas returned to the office for a more comprehensive evaluation. The transformation was visible already in his appearance. The tired look from the first consultation had given way to a more rested and willing face. Mrs. Sarah, by his side, smiled proudly at her husband's achievements. "Doctor, now I'm waking up only once a night, sometimes not even that," he reported, excited. The new voiding diary confirmed this significant improvement. The nighttime urinary volume had reduced to about 25% of the daily total, much closer to the pattern considered normal. The detailed analysis of the records showed other important advances. "I notice that you've managed to establish a good routine with fluids," I commented, analyzing the notes. "The distribution of water intake throughout the day is much more balanced." Indeed, he had adapted his hydration schedule, concentrating liquid consumption in the first half of the day. The follow-up exams also brought good news. Blood sugar had normalized with changes in diet and regular exercise practice. "Dr. Johnson, your endocrinologist, sent me a report praising your dedication," I commented. Communication between health professionals is crucial for the success of the treatment. "I lost 9 pounds in this period, doctor," Mr. Thomas shared. visibly satisfied. And the most interesting thing is that I'm not on any radical diet. Just changed some eating habits and included physical activity in my routine. I explained that this gradual and sustainable weight loss was exactly what we were looking for. During the consultation, we did an interesting exercise, comparing the notes from the first voiding diary with the current one. See how the patterns have changed, I showed him. Before, you had peaks of urinary urgency after evening coffee. Now, with the change in the timing of caffeinated drinks, these episodes have practically disappeared. Sleep quality had also improved significantly. I wake up more willing, with the feeling that I really rested, he reported. Mrs. Sarah added, "And that's not all, doctor. He's more patient, in a better mood. He's got energy again to play with the grandchildren on weekends." One aspect that positively caught my attention was how Mr. Thomas had transformed the treatment into an opportunity to take better care of his overall health. "The gym has become a sacred commitment," Mrs. Sarah told me. 3 times a week, without fail. I even started accompanying him. It was time to make some adjustments to the treatment plan. We'll keep the prostate medication, but we can reduce the dose a bit, since the symptoms have improved significantly, I explained. As for the other measures, I suggest you continue with everything that's working well. We also talked about the importance of maintaining the achievements. The secret now is consistency, I emphasized. We can't let initial success lead us to relax with care. Mr. Thomas agreed, demonstrating that he had really incorporated the changes into his lifestyle. During the consultation, he shared how these changes had also impacted his professional performance. "I'm more productive at work, with more mental clarity," he reported. "Before, I spent mornings fighting against sleep and fatigue. Now I can concentrate better on tasks." Before ending the consultation, we made a plan for the next few months. "We'll space out our follow-up consultations a bit more, but I want you to continue keeping the voiding diary," I instructed. "And any significant change, let me know." Mr. Thomas's case was a perfect example of how an integrated approach, combining drug treatment with lifestyle changes, can bring surprising results. More than treating nocturia, we had managed to promote an overall improvement in his quality of life. 6 months had passed since Mr. Thomas's first consultation. In our last follow-up evaluation, it was gratifying to see how that initially dejected patient had transformed into an example of overcoming and self-care. His story now served as inspiration for other patients facing similar challenges. "Doctor, I don't even remember what it was like to wake up several times during the night," he commented, smiling. The new voiding diary showed impressive stability in the urinary pattern. Trips to the bathroom during the night had completely normalized, with only an occasional urination on some nights. During our conversation, we did a detailed retrospective of the entire journey. "Do you remember your main complaints in the first consultation?" I asked. It was important to revisit the starting point to value each achievement. Mr. Thomas listed irritability, constant tiredness, lack of concentration at work, frequent need to urinate during the night. "Now let's talk about how your life is currently," I proposed. He and Mrs. Sarah looked at each other, smiling. "It's another life, doctor," she replied. "Thomas has gone back to being that willing and good-humored man I met. We've even started taking long trips again, something we had stopped because of frequent bathroom visits. The impact of the changes extended far beyond nocturia control. The most recent exams showed significant improvement in various health parameters. Blood sugar was completely controlled, blood pressure had normalized, and body weight remained stable after a total loss of 15 pounds. The most interesting thing, doctor, is how one thing led to another," reflected Mr. Thomas. "I started treating the urinary problem, but ended up completely transforming my lifestyle." Indeed, he had developed a new relationship with his health, understanding the importance of prevention and self-care. The practice of physical exercises, initially a challenge, had become a fundamental part of his routine. "Now I make a point of walking every day, even when I'm traveling for work," he told me. "And 3 times a week I go to the gym, my personal Trainer says I have the physical conditioning of someone 10 years younger. Eating habits had also been consolidated in a sustainable way. Mrs. Sarah, who always supported the treatment, had specialized in healthy and nutritious recipes. We discovered that eating well doesn't mean giving up pleasure, she commented. It's just a matter of learning new ways to prepare food. During the consultation, I took the opportunity to reinforce the importance of maintaining care. The success of the treatment doesn't mean we can relax, I explained. It's essential to maintain good habits to prevent the return of symptoms. Mr. Thomas agreed, demonstrating that he had really internalized this message. We also talked about how he had become a positive reference in his social circle. Some friends, seeing my transformation, also sought medical help for similar problems, he told me. I realized that many people suffer from nocturia without knowing that there is treatment. This observation led me to reflect on how many people still face this problem in silence, believing it to be an inevitable consequence of aging. You are helping to break this taboo, I commented. Your story shows that it's never too late to seek help and improve quality of life. Family support continued to be an important pillar in his journey. The children, who followed the changes even from a distance, had organized a special weekend to celebrate their father's achievements. We took a family walk, followed by a healthy lunch, Mrs. Sarah recounted. It was moving to see how everyone engaged in this transformation. Before ending the consultation, we established a new follow-up schedule. We can space out our consultations even more, keeping an evaluation every 6 months, I suggested. But you already know. Any significant change, I'm at your disposal. As a urologist, each successful case brings valuable lessons that contribute to the improvement of clinical practice. Mr. Thomas's story, in particular, perfectly exemplifies how a comprehensive and personalized approach can transform not just a specific symptom, but the patient's life as a whole. Nocturia, often underestimated and considered a normal annoyance of aging, can be an important sign of underlying conditions that need attention. In Mr. Thomas's case, the initial symptom led us to identify metabolic and prostatic alterations that, if left untreated, could evolve into more serious conditions. One of the main lessons we extract from this case is the importance of persistence and commitment to treatment. Habit changes, especially after years of established routines, require dedication and patience. Mr. Thomas's success demonstrates that, with adequate support and motivation, these transformations are possible at any age. The role of the family in the treatment process also deserves highlight. Mrs. Sarah, with her unconditional support, was fundamental for changes in diet and daily habits. The children, even at a distance, contributed with constant encouragement and active participation in the process. This support network strengthens the patient and significantly increases the chances of treatment success. The multidisciplinary approach proved crucial. The integration between urology and endocrinology, in Mr. Thomas's case, allowed for a more effective and comprehensive treatment. Each specialty contributed its expertise, resulting in a coherent and successful therapeutic plan. Constant communication between the professionals involved ensured the harmony of the adopted approaches. The use of the voiding diary as a monitoring tool proved invaluable. More than a simple record, it became an instrument of awareness and motivation for the patient. Through it, Mr. Thomas could concretely visualize his progress and better understand the relationship between his habits and symptoms. Regular physical exercise emerged as a fundamental pillar of treatment. In addition to the direct benefits in controlling nocturia, physical activity provided significant improvements in physical conditioning, mood, and sleep quality. The gradual progression of activities, respecting individual limits, was essential for adherence to the exercise program. The transformation of eating habits transcended the simple restriction of fluids at night. The adoption of a more balanced diet contributed to weight control, normalization of blood sugar, and overall health improvement. The discovery of new recipes and preparation methods made this change pleasurable and sustainable. Stress management, initially not considered as the main focus of treatment, proved to be an important aspect. The incorporation of relaxation and meditation techniques brought benefits that extended beyond the control of urinary symptoms, positively impacting overall quality of life. Mr. Thomas's experience teaches us that the treatment of nocturia goes far beyond prescribing medications. It is a process that involves health education, behavior change, and development of self-awareness. Each patient is unique, and the therapeutic plan must be adapted to their particularities and life context. As a health professional, cases like this reinforce the importance of attentive and empathetic listening. Many patients come to the office discouraged, believing that their problems have no solution. Showing that there are possible paths and accompanying them on this journey is one of the greatest rewards of medicine. Mr. Thomas's story serves as inspiration and hope for other patients facing similar challenges. It shows us that, with proper guidance, determination, and support, it is possible to overcome nocturia and regain peaceful and restorative nights of sleep. More than that, it teaches us that each difficulty can become an opportunity for transformation and growth.